I've been analyzing this site called Downsize. It's a public site. It's worth about $1 million, anywhere from $825,000 to about 1.3 million, based on a 25 to 40x monthly multiple, which is just an approximation. The fact is this site is getting a lot of traffic and it's earning a lot of money. My friend Morten was kind enough to let me analyze it. This is Morten here. He blogs over at Passive Income Geek, and he has a very nice YouTube channel, so you should check it out. He has a course where he teaches you how to do this kind of stuff. So if you're interested, you could check it out, but that is not why we're here. We're here because people were asking a lot of questions about this site, Downsize, and how the link building was done. I showed in the first video some of this data. There are nearly 5,000 referring domains, so there's 4,980 or so, and it has a domain rating of 50, which is quite high. It's getting a lot of traffic, and people were thinking, hey, how did he get so many backlinks? He must be doing some sort of crazy backlink strategy or something like that. Well, let's peel back the onion a little bit and think logically for a second. So number one, the site's been around for about, 8 years or so. It was started in 2013. So it's been around for a little while. And the thing is, you can see on the graph here, it didn't start off with a whole lot of links. For the first few years, there weren't too many, and it's just slowly been growing. Of course, recently here in 2021, there's sort of a staggering amount of additional links. But I pinged Morten because he's a friend of mine, and I said, what kind of link building were you doing, man? What were you doing? Anything crazy? And he said, I've done very little outreach for links. Mostly, I just reached out to the news media about 100 Things Challenge, which some major sites picked up. And over the last 5 years, I've done zero outreach or link building stuff. So Morten really hasn't done that many things, but how did his site get so many links? So I clicked on the best pages by links just to see what was going on, just to analyze one or two to see what happened here. Now, my hunch is once a site starts ranking well for a given term, it's highly likely that it's going to rank for a lot of other terms too. My hunch is once a site starts ranking for some long tail keywords, people will start linking to it because it's ranking number one. Let's say a reporter writes an article and they're looking for a reference, or just any writer blogging is looking for a reference for some point that they've made in their article. They'll Google the term, usually be pretty specific, and then they'll link to a source that provides the reference and citation that they need. So once you start ranking well, it's not unusual for you to just start getting links. Now, the thing is, over the course of like 8 years, you can end up with a whole lot of links, and there's a lot of content on this site. But like I said, let's just dive in and look at one specific one. So, the homepage is going to get a lot of links, but instead, let's look at one of these, like the individual pages. So clever furniture for small spaces, which is kind of a nice long tail keyword. It has 105 referring domains, 60 of which are do follow. So that's pretty good. 60 do follow links to that specific page. Now, when I click over here, we can see there's a lot of different referring domains pointing there. Some of them aren't as good. Some of them have a domain rating in the single digits, but some of them are pretty impressive. Some of them have pretty high domain ratings. So if we click over here, look at the actual post, let's see how good it is. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but there's 17 affordable ideas. There's some nice images here, a little bit of commentary. There's a lot of ads, quite a lot of ads. There's a little table here. Okay, so I think it's just nice to look at. There's nothing super impressive, and there's really a small amount of content. There's not much. So, I mean, this is how much we're looking at. Probably 100 words or so if I had to estimate. So nothing to write home about, but it is very linkable in that it has that nice title. So clever furniture for small spaces. 17 affordable ideas. And then we have these various links going to it. And then the other thing is you may end up in a situation where a certain page is sort of syndicated out. So Morten mentioned that he did a little bit of outreach for the page where there was 100 challenge, like 100 things challenges. Maybe you get rid of 100 things and you get quite a few links that way. He did a little outreach to media outlets, and that seemed to work out well. Of course, that's a listicle kind of article, and I don't really love those. I mean, there's not much content on there. So how else might Go Downsize have gained so many links? So as I scroll down here, I see, oh, there's some pretty good references out there. So where can I build a tiny house? And these are laws by state. So this is a pretty cool one because people will link to that because it is consolidating information. And I've seen this done many times on various websites, especially when there's different state laws for each state, depending on what it is. So I think back originally to Pat Flynn's security guard training site, where each state had different criteria and different regulations for becoming a security guard. So with that in mind, if you had a specific niche where there were different laws or rules or regulations for each state, that would be a great way to find content that people will want to link to. Now, as we look here at the links that are pointing to this page, we have Green Matters, we have MASH Visor, GMX, Allow Copy, Tiny House Blog, and so on. These are all DRs over 60. There's about 8 of them there. There's a few more over 40, and these are just very powerful links just in general. So there's a little tip right there. If you can find a way to publish content that is a valuable resource, people will link to it. They'll actually look for that information. And then with something like tiny houses, where there's a little bit of a cult following perhaps, people will share on social media, they'll give information to each other, and it will have its own word of mouth, which is a great way for it to show up on other blogs, people to share it on social media, and so on. And then otherwise, there are just a lot of articles, and a lot of them that have not necessarily like a clickbait style title, but it's very clear. 18 helpful tips for beginners, tiny house humidity and ventilation. 5 great RVs built on Freightliner chassis with pictures, right? So these are just good, helpful posts that fit perfectly in with the niche. If you have further questions about some of the other link building techniques or something like that that you maybe observe, or you wonder what Morten was doing here, let me know in the comments. And by the way, I created a whole other video where I show you how Morten did his keyword research. Again, I pinged him and just asked him what he did. So there's a video on that. And then there's the original analysis that I did. If you're interested in some of the keywords that I exported from some of the data that I looked at, you can check out that video, which I'll link in the description, and you can actually download those. Those are just freely available. There's about 1,000 of them that I made available. And shout out again to Morten over at the Passive Income Geek.